Hey, all my burners, stoners, potheads out there. This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 podcast. How's everyone doing out there? Mrs. Weedman, how you doing?
Doing well. Hello, everybody.
Everybody's doing well, I hope. I hope everybody's smoking some great cannabis right now and enjoying what we got coming for you. But before we get started, we have to give a little shout out to a friend of the shows and a friend of the family and a friend of our daughters who just passed away the last couple of days. His name is Calvin Figueroa, and he was diagnosed with testicular cancer on September 14, 2020. He was 23 years old, young, and moved out to Colorado about 7 months ago to start a life with his partner, Sarah. His diagnosis was sudden, and he wound up not beating it, didn't even have a chance. He found out, in 10 days, and then in 10 days he was
10
gone.
or 12 days, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to dedicate this show to Calvin, and we're going to smoke one up for him here in a minute. But I just want to tell a little story of how I met Calvin, and he's a fellow burner, pothead, stoner. Also, I would like to call him a true weed man. Mm-hmm. The first time I met Calvin was at a party here my daughter had thrown for a friend of hers, and got to know Calvin, and some of the Dob Boy was here and a couple other guys, and we started talking about cannabis and found out that he smoked, and he wound up pulling out a bunch of his stuff. I pulled out a bunch of my stuff, and we wound up sharing a bunch of stuff, gave him some edibles that Mrs. Weedman made, and he enjoyed them tremendously, and we wound up kicking it off real well. It was the first time I actually really got to know him, and I've seen him around the neighborhood hanging out with O-Dog, and but just a true weed man. And like a couple weeks later, he had dropped by the house. I wasn't home, but he had given Mrs. Weedman this ginormous green gummy bear. And I got home, and Mrs. Weedman hands me this thing. Hey, this is from Calvin. I'm like, what? What the hell is this thing? Look at what I got to know what the milligrams of this edible is before I decide to indulge in this wonderful piece of candy. Yeah, deliciousness.
It was like the size of the palm of your hand. It was huge.
So we had O-Dog text him and go, hey, she asked him, hey, Calvin, what's the milligram? He goes, 200 milligrams. And I said to O-Dog, text him back, say, what does he want me to die? I said I'd take 10s at a time. I can, take 10 every couple hours, take another 10, but never 200 milligrams at one time. I'm just not built for that. To go and find out that he texted O-Dog back and said, I take a whole one, 200 milligram all the time. And we were just like, what?
Whoa.
So, Calvin, this show's for you. May God rest your soul, rest in peace. And so hopefully you're smoking some of the best cannabis you ever had in your whole entire life. And Mrs. Weedman's going to light one up for you right now. And this show's for you, Calvin. So
rest in peace, Calvin.
Rest in peace, my friend, my fellow weed man. So what we're smoking today and is a new strain I haven't had before, and this is by Bedford Grow, which we haven't really talked about on this podcast yet. And I have tried them a long time ago. I've tried some pre-rolls for them, and I've tried some cannabis in their early stages of being around. But this flower is called Double. Dubble, like I guess double bubble, rainbow, double rainbow, and this is a 24% strain, and it's an indica dominant hybrid, 80% indica, 20% sativa, created through crossing the powerful rainbow cookies and purple Hulk strains. Best known for its super delicious flavor, double rainbow is perfect for any indica lover who wants to really kick back and relax before they get to sleep at night. This bud has a taste much like funfetti cake or cookie, with hints of sweet berries and nutty, accented by rich cake and just a touch of spice. The aroma takes a turn for the skunky with a sweet fruity cookie overtone, accented by spicy skunk and herbs. The double rainbow has a creeping effect, slowly filling your mind with building sense of euphoric ease, pushing away any negative thoughts and numbing the senses. A growing body high comes next, sneaking into your body with warming waves and lulling you into a state of couch-locked tranquility. In combination with its super high 20% average THC level, the sedative and calming effects make Double Rainbow perfect for treating chronic stress or anxiety, depression, or mood swings, bipolar disorder, and chronic fatigue. Double Rainbow buds have small grape-shaped minty green nugs with thin orange hairs and a coating of minty white crystal trichomes. I am going to agree with a lot of that. What I just read you all, I know it was a lot to read
Yeah, that
about a
was
strain.
quite a description.
It was, and I will say this: it was very, very still had it was a little sticky. Still, it was very like fluffy when I grinded it up. When we smoked it last night, the high was really nice. I laid back and we watched some TV. Mrs. Weedman and I had some giggles, but it did put me in a euphoric, like just kind of just like out there, man. I was like just spacing, like we were watching the show, and I probably didn't miss the whole entire thing because I was just so just in my own world, couch locked, and just chilling and relaxed and just having a good time here, you know, with that. And I thought the strain was really good. Mrs. Weedman, why don't you tell me about the strain a little bit?
I thought it was nice too. I had a couple hits. The first night we smoked it, I took 3 hits and quickly realized that was way too much. And we talked about, Mr. Weedman, we talked about taking only a hit tonight for the show so we could function.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it definitely makes you a little just cloudy, let's just say. Definitely isn't one of those weeds that you can function and do a lot with.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna smoke a little bit more in a second here. We had a little bit of trouble with our first bowl. I think it was clogged, so we had to really make a quick switch with a second bowl we had and loaded that up. So I'm gonna smoke real quick.
Now I got a mouthful of whatever. What is that called?
Little ash. Little ash never hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Little ash never hurt anybody.
Sorry, we were having a little technical difficulty there.
Please stand by.
We're okay now.
So anyway, that hit was for Calvin, and you're going to see how the effect comes here in a little bit with this strain. But like I said, it's one that maybe you should try if you see it. I don't see too much of Bedford Grow, but, you know, when I do, you know, everything I've had from them has been pretty good. Here's some great news. And as you know, we've been fighting for the freedom of non-violent cannabis crimes out there. And here's something really positive. Colorado governor pardons more than 2,700 people with marijuana convictions. Go Colorado. Go Governor Jared Polis. We're pretty proud of that state for doing what they're doing. And anybody that has a possession for 1 ounce or less under the following provisions are hereby granted a full and unconditional pardon for that conviction. The pardon will take immediate effect for more than 2,700 people who have been convicted of a low-level crime. That's from the Denver Post. The pardon convictions date back as 50 years. And as recent as late as 2012 when voters approved Amendment 64, which legalized the possession and consumption of weed in the state.
That's great.
Go Governor Polis. You're the man. I hope other states follow. Now, D.C., which legalized cannabis, but the one thing is, almost every arrest on cannabis charges in D.C. right now are African-American. Yeah. And which is wrong because it's legal in D.C.
Right.
And I don't understand that with 45% of the population, they are arresting a ton of African Americans in Washington, D.C. right now, which I was reading also on Normal that total marijuana arrests fall in the District of Columbia, but racial disparities persist. So 2 articles I'm reading about which in certain wards, the lower income wards where they're doing most of the arrest in, and Ward 7 and 8, and which is predominantly African-American neighborhoods, but contrast fewer than 1% of all arrests occurred in Ward 3, which is predominantly white. So, D.C., I don't know what you're doing over there. Cannabis is legal. Fix your shit.
Fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how did that go? What was that Saturday Night Live skit? Fix it. So, fix your shit, D.C. It's cannabis. Okay? Follow what other states are doing, and you have it legalized, full rec that you could smoke there.
But they have like some funny laws, don't they? Like you can't buy it, but you can trade. You can give it to somebody. You can't carry it.
Yeah, I don't know if that law totally changed, but the law that I remember back when it first started was you cannot sell cannabis legally at all.
You could sell them a bag, and there just happens to be an ounce of weed in it.
Right. Or you could just give it to people.
Right.
So, and you could smoke
And
it
if
legally.
they happen to just want to give you $20,
And you can grow, I think you could possibly
they like you.
grow it legally in your own home.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how many plants. I'd have to look on Normal's website to see what the full laws are, which you guys can do that also. But yeah, DC, get your shit together because, I mean, you should be arresting anybody for nonviolent cannabis for low-level crimes out there at all. So I hope we can fix that there. I hope we can do what Washington, D.C. is doing, though, by freeing the plant for all to enjoy, because basically that state, it's not even just legalized, the plant's free. Mm-hmm. So if every state did that, we wouldn't have these arrests.
Right.
So, I don't know. What is something we do every Friday night?
We order pizza.
Every Friday night since I was a kid. Since I was a wee little lad in the Bronx, New York. I grew up.
Where was that from?
I don't know.
You're from Ireland?
Tried to. Little Ireland, talking about pizza. You know, whatever. Everybody likes pizza, though, whether you're Irish, Italian, whatever. You all like pizza. I like pizza. So, but since I was a kid, Friday night was always pizza and pasta vazul night. Mm-hmm. Yes. So, what would you say if it was kind of funny, though, that you and I owned a pizza joint and we kind of got like some weed going on the side?
All right. What you're getting at is this article that we came across, and it's about a popular pizza joint owner and his wife who were arrested for allegedly selling weed on the side. So the co-owner and chef of Nunzio's Kitchen, Nunzio's, a popular pizza joint in New Jersey, the chef and his wife are facing charges after 25 pounds of pot were found in their Sayreville home. The couple was using the supply to produce and sell cannabis-infused products, according to a criminal complaint. Michael and his wife Angela were taken into custody after police raided their home and discovered the drugs and other manufacturing paraphernalia in an area accessible to their 2 young children. Police also seized ledgers and computer equipment connected to the operation. The pizza business, which has been in the family for 41 years, is still operating normally. Angela, the co-owner's wife, also has a business she's the owner of a medical marijuana business, conveniently, and she advertises it as where cannabis meets compassion. And when her husband isn't at Nunzio's Kitchen, they run pop-up pizza events around town, and they feature cannabis-infused foods.
I was just going to say
Pretty
that.
Cool, right?
They put a little butt in that?
Yeah. One such event was booked the night that they were raided by the police.
Boo.
So authorities charged the couple with possession of a controlled substance, intent to distribute, and 2 counts of child endangerment. So the laws of cannabis. We'll see what happens with them. They're supposed to go back into court November 2nd. I mean, here you got like these people that obviously, if the motto of their business is where cannabis meets compassion, and they both have jobs, they're both being productive adults, and they're trying to help people. Obviously, they're trying to help people that medically need marijuana, apparently, from what they're saying in this article. And so they use the kitchen, a commercial kitchen, which is where you're supposed to cook food when you sell it. So they're trying to follow the laws, but then they kind of weren't following some laws, and it nailed them. But hopefully they don't have to see or do time, because that would be kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, pizza and pot,
I think it's great. It's a great idea. Just the laws need to get a little ahead of their actions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
so then they could be doing it. I mean, that's an ideal business, 100%, right?
100%. Yeah.
Totally great.
I mean, we did pizza setups this weekend, so
right?
I mean, imagine throwing a little cannabis in the
you
sauce.
Pick up your pizza, or you get like pizza and one of those like the hot cookies, like the pizza sized cookies, and that could be infused.
You just gave somebody $1 million idea.
$1 million, $1 million bucks. Pay me when you make that all work.
Yeah, you just want 1% of your sales.
Just 1%.
You could have the whole idea.
I like royalties.
They pay forever.
So anyway, we'll hear back later in November. Hopefully they don't have to do any sort of time. Let them do a little community service. They could donate marijuana brownies.
There you go.
To the elderly.
There you go. Help them out. The elderly likes weed too. We have 2 millennials. Mm-hmm. And I feel bad for millennials because they get a bad rap. They do. And we raised 2 of them. We raised 2 good kids. So that are growing up to be fine young adults. And so all you millennials that are getting a bad rap, we love you. We have a ton of them around us because of our kids, so we love them all. But it's finding out the millennials, which I'm proud of you, you prefer smoking the flower more than anything else. And I really thought reading a couple articles and doing some research that you guys were all about vape and vape and vape and vape this and vape that.
Like nicotine vape or marijuana vape?
Cannabis vape cartridges, the oils.
Yeah.
You know, but I think some of that crisis kind of hurt. But it's saying that you millennials in general spend 43% of your money on flower, 9% on pre-rolls, and another 23% on vape pens. So you're up there on the vape pens.
Also.
Yeah.
What was the highest?
Just straight up flower.
Flower.
But yeah. So 43%.
Good. Keeping it pure.
Yep. And that's millennial males that contribute to the most sales with 37.5% of the market share. And then female cannabis consumers in the category weren't as big fans of the smokable categories. Millennial females spent 70% of their money on vape pens and then which was far less than men. However, this was the biggest category for female vape pen buyers. Other female age groups spent much less on vape pens. Yeah. So the most notable difference between these brands is that Gen Z, which is the group below, millennials age groups contribute to an enormous proportion of sales to the top two brands. And it's called Stilsy and Raw Gardens. And I think those are California brands. Which is the biggest state for cannabis. So because millennials drive the majority of vape pen sales and Gen Z has the strongest over index of any age groups to vapes, vape or pen brands targeting these groups could potentially see strong sales. So with some other California brands being top of the ranks. And then, so, you know, you guys eat some edibles too here, very low on the edible line and very low on the topicals and the sublinguals, which is like the under the tongue.
Drops.
Yes, the drops.
Are you high?
I'm baked.
I think you
feel
are.
good. I took a nice big rip. So you millennials, this sweet man making fun of me. So you millennials keep on smoking that flower, keep it alive. I have always told you, guys and gals out there, that I would let you know when I hear about anything to do with vapes. And I read something called EVALI, which is the name given by the Center of Disease Control and Prevention to the dangerous new identified lung disease linked to vaping. The name EVALI is an acronym that stands for e-cigarette or vaping product used associated with lung injury. I did not know that. Some of the cases, though, have gone down, like we said, because you are going to dispensaries to get your vape cartridges. You're getting it from a reliable source where you know it's coming from. So I'm proud of all of you folks out there. The cases are only about 5 to 10 now compared to where they were per month versus what they were 6 months ago, 8 months ago. I mean, 5 to 10 cases are between California, Washington, Michigan, and Vermont, Colorado, Nevada. The highest is Illinois. So stop buying those illicit vape cartridges on the streets, Illinois. You're at 25 to 100 cases a month. But a year after the vaping crisis upended, the cannabis industry and cannabis vape companies reported that sales have rebounded as consumers grasp the dangers of consuming illicit market vaporizers and switch to legal suppliers. Good for you. I know it's a little bit more expensive, but at least you know where your shit's coming from. And then to go along with that, cannabis vape companies are experiencing a sales boom during the pandemic, during COVID. So it looks like more people are gravitating to vape pens. I don't know. So you guys are growing that cartridge, and there's also been a shortage on some cartridges, like the equipment, because we're buying them up. So I don't know. People like it. You know, some of the other states that I was telling you about, you know, they're up in that 20%, 30% range. Dynavap, which is a vaporizer company, it's out of Wisconsin, they say that the public perception of cannabis has remained consistent with continual movement into positive public acceptance. Dynavap notes that he feels the cannabis plant has even had a positive effect and eased the impact from COVID-19. So you guys are buying vape products like crazy. They employ 50 people up in Wisconsin, so that's some cannabis growth. Has seen some big turning points around cannabis and around the legalization, with vape cartridges getting better in their inventory and stuff. So you guys are doing well. What else we got for you here? In Florida, medical marijuana and CBD's sales rise sharply during COVID-19 pandemic. We've been seeing that across the board the last 3 or 4 months. So go Florida.
It's only medical in Florida, right?
Only medical. You should put that on a vote, Florida, and get it recreational, especially right now when you'll see cannabis spike through the roof and your sales and your tax dollars will go through the roof since, you can use all the money you can get. So, but yeah, they're rising sharply. We just had the Illinois Cannabis Cup. As I take a sip of my wine, hold on.
Was this virtual, the cannabis cup?
Yes, you were able to buy a kit at dispensaries here in Illinois
I saw those ads.
that were selling them. Not every dispensary sold them. And I didn't even ask. I didn't even want to do it. I rate enough, cannabis here on the podcast to let you guys know what I'd like and what I don't like. And so far, I've given everybody thumbs up. So, or I should say a bong up. So they did this virtually. And for our People's Choice Edition tour, we made a stop in Illinois where folks were thriving in the cannabis space stepped up to compete. So here's the winners. And I'm going to go in another article next, but Revolution Cannabis won almost every category except for one. So, and I don't know if every cultivation center in Illinois,
entered every category.
Entered it all.
Right.
But in indica flower, Revolution took first place for Florida Orange. Hybrid, Gorilla, and I smoked a lot of these that were on the list, and they're all very good. Hybrid flower, Gorilla Cheese by Revolution Cannabis. They won first place for hybrid. Sativa flower, first place. Turbo Lemon Cake, I've smoked that. Revolution Cannabis. Rhythm and Cresco were on there, which was kind of cool to see their names. Pre-rolls, Rocket Raspberry Bellini by Revolution Cannabis took first place. And then you got a Rise with GMO, small batch pre-rolls, and then Creamed and Mint by Palm pre-rolled by Bedford Grow. Well, that's cool that Bedford was on there. That we're just smoking them. A Rise, we've smoked a lot of their brands. Concentrates, Gorilla Lagoon No. 4, Butter by Revolution. Rise got on there, and Grassroots got on there for concentrates. Good for them. Vape pens, once again, Revolution. Terp Tank, Florida Orange. Farmer Can was on there, and so was Cresco. Edibles, first place, Bang, Toffee Chocolate, 100 milligram.
Have we had that?
No, we haven't.
No.
Snozberries. Gummies by Incredibles. We like Incredibles. We've had some of their stuff. And Revolution got third place for Fudgy's Rich Chocolate Bites. I've not tried much of Revolution's edibles, except for the Goobies, which were okay. I didn't think they were like amazing or anything like that. But I think their edibles, I'm shocked that I didn't see Mindy Siegel on there by Cresco.
Right. Yeah, I'm surprised. I thought they had the market on that.
She's got some good edibles. We've tried. I like Incredibles. I like Wana. That's my favorite gummy, the Wana brand. Iso's brands are pretty good. Those little 5 milligram watermelon slices are pretty dope. I'm surprised not seeing more diversity in winnings. I mean, like I said, I smoke a lot of Revolution Cannabis. I like their stuff. It's pretty fresh most of the time when I get it. But I've smoked a lot of other Illinois. Like, I didn't see Nature's Grace on there, an all-women dispensary. They make, I think, really good cannabis. I've tried some of their edibles, too. I think some of their stuff is really well done. Yeah, I'm just very shocked to see one cultivator win almost every category. And then there's another article about it that Revolution Cannabis nearly sweeps the Illinois Cannabis Cup, but some reviewers question the process. Dun, dun, dun. So, let's see here. Just previous Cannabis Cups around the world typically have featured celebrity judges such as Snoop Dogg, industry insiders. This time the process was different here in Illinois, part due to the coronavirus pandemic. In Illinois, where recreational marijuana first became legal this year, the judging was opened up to the public as a way of broadening its participation. Up to 220 judges could participate in each category. They bought a judging kit containing samples of products from producers statewide, costing $150 to $280 for up to 28 grams, almost an ounce, or about an ounce, which were only sold at a handful of dispensaries statewide. So, Revolution CEO Dustin Schroyer said his team was blown away by the results. I would be blown away too if I fucking won every category except for one. Our staff's heart and passion is second to none in the industry. He said, noting it took at least a couple of years of breeding its varieties to get where they are. Yeah, true, because I watched them grown because I started smoking them a few years ago. So, I mean, I've watched all their different stuff. I mean, they got like 6, 8 on the wall over there. So, so I get it. They're making stuff. Let's see. Let's anybody else talk about there. So, I mean, there's Green Thumb Industries. There's Rhythm on there. I mean, there's a bunch of categories and a bunch of people, but, you know, well, Revolution, good for you. Hopefully we see more and more people and more cultivators step up in the future. But congratulations on our first Cannabis Cup, too. So, way to go, Illinois, for stepping up. Woo-woo. All right. Remember we were flying overseas?
Mm-hmm.
And for it's almost been a year since we've gone on our vacation. And we were flying to Spain, and which was where we were landing. And I was bringing a bunch of cannabis, and you and I had like I told you like a month before I was going to sneak a bunch of stuff on. You were like freaking out.
Mm-hmm. I told you that if you get stopped, I'm still going on my vacation. I'm like, I'm not ruining this vacation.
But what she didn't know is I put everything in her big bag.
You did not.
I put a couple things.
You know what?
It was mixed in all of our bags.
You would have ruined both of our trips.
Well,
then.
if I was going down, you were coming down with me.
I was going to Spain.
Right.
I'm like,
and if I was going down, you were going down.
I'll bail you out on the way home. Plan this trip for 2 years.
Every bag that we carried on or went on had something different in it, whether it had coconut infused capsules.
I don't even want to know this. Go on with your story. That's enough. That's absolutely enough.
So, the argument that, and we didn't get into fights about it. It was just some arguments, but the argument was it or was it not risky to fly with cannabis on you, whether in the United States or overseas?
Yes.
And it is, but it isn't. Okay? So, let's go into this one. This is a big one for me because you and I have had so many times I've flown with or without you, and I've always traveled with my pen. Or I've never traveled with flour, though, or joints, or any kind of stuff like that. You did.
And I couldn't understand why you were so like, are you serious? You what?
Because I know
because I thought you did that all the time.
No, not flour.
I didn't know there was a big difference.
Well, it all depends on how bad it smells. Right. If you're
never thought about it.
Right.
Just
so
put them in my suitcase.
I know a lot of people that travel with flour all the time.
Crazy.
And I think it's crazy because most of the time you walk past one of those dogs now, they're not there to sniff for cannabis anymore.
Right.
They're
don't
sniffing
care.
for bombs.
Mm-hmm.
So I've walked by with cartridges and edibles, and the dog doesn't even fucking notice me. Mm-hmm. But I'm still kind of nervous traveling with flour. You traveled with flour, though.
I thought that you do too. I didn't know it was a big deal.
So I shouldn't have told you that because
bought fancy joints, and I was like, I'm going to bring them home.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah, the package was so cool.
Right. So, but
it was a variety pack.
I shouldn't have said anything to you because you probably would have kept on doing it.
Yeah.
So, but let's get into this.
Yeah.
As cannabis becomes more readily accessible within the states, domestic airline travelers often wonder, can you fly with weed? When it comes to flying weed, there's a lot of conflicting laws and regulations at play under federal law. It's illegal to cross state or international borders with cannabis. But that does not mean everyone leaves their stash at home. I'm one of them, and I know a lot of people that travel with it. Currently, 32 states and D.C. allow medical cannabis use, confusing many travelers on their ability to transport their medical cannabis. In general, the TSA security personnel are more focused on finding unauthorized weapons than a joint, which we just said. A growing acceptance of cannabis has led to lax laws concerning flying with weed, but travelers should do their research before facing any possible legal repercussions. According to a survey of 1,001 travelers who had smuggled and prohibited items onto an aircraft, 87.7% of them were able to sneak it onto the airplane for a domestic flight. For international flights, 80.4% of travelers were able to hide their stash successfully, like I did in 5 different bags. I hit it pretty good. Per the survey, the most common prohibited item bought on board was cannabis or cannabis-infused products, followed by unauthorized prescription medication. The survey's findings suggest that despite the federal prohibition of cannabis cultivation, possession, and use, domestic and international travelers are taking the risk of flying with weed in a carry-on or checked luggage and on themselves. 42.6% of respondents said they bought weed on a plane to avoid having to buy some of the at their destination, which is smart. 34.7% of participants said they bought weed because it was not recreational legal. And a lot of them are probably card holders in their state, and they need to take their medicine with them.
Right.
Other reasons given were inability to obtain medical cannabis at their destination, and to reduce flying anxiety. Some people take it because they get anxiety on the flight, so they can relax and sleep, or just take the stress and the anxiety away. Of the people that admitted to flying with weed, 42.9% of men and 25.7% of women were caught by TSA agents, according to the survey. The majority of the people who didn't get caught bought edibles, flour, and oil products. Vape juice, liquids, blunts were harder to sneak across. You snuck across joints, though. I guess it wasn't that hard. Lastly, well, see, that's the thing, because I think in this article it talks about Seattle. You can fly in and out of Seattle with it and they don't care. Same thing with LAX,
Right.
which I think is in this article also.
I think going to Vegas too.
Vegas too, and out of Vegas. So here's the legality of flying with weed is obscured by differing policies of airports, the local law enforcement, and federal law. With some airports are adopting relaxed regulations on medical cannabis, others may not. Overall, federal screenings performed by TSA security focus on finding terrorist and security threats to passengers and aircraft personnel. It's unlikely that the TSA agents will intentionally look for flower buds, but they do have some authority. If a TSA agent happens to come upon a traveler with cannabis stash in their carry-on or clothing, they are required to contact the airport's law enforcement division. It doesn't matter if the traveler is coming from or going to a cannabis-friendly destination. Federally, TSA does not allow medical cannabis in carry-on or check-in bags, and that includes CBD products. Travelers that are caught are subject to regulations.
Why don't they just confiscate it then? Like, if they do
probably
find it.
do.
Instead of making a whole, process and paperwork and police. That's stupid.
Here, for example, cannabis policy at LAX is that anyone over 21 can carry under an ounce of cannabis flower or 8 grams of concentrate cannabis. The policy indicates officers who are California peace officers have no jurisdiction to arrest individuals if they are complying with state law. TSA screening stations, however, under federal jurisdiction, mean the agents are supposed to alert law enforcement, which will not lead to arrest but may cause a delayed flight. California airports as a whole have policies supporting Proposition 64, but not all of them. Let's see here.
How do they determine what makes an okay amount or an acceptable amount? What did they say? 0.18?
It was 30 grams.
So what would that
8
be?
grams of concentrate, and what was the other one? I think it was 30 grams.
So
it was
that would be like a
less than an
pen?
ounce. Yeah.
And
yeah.
or a couple joints or something?
Yeah.
That would be acceptable?
So, well, you can bring 30 grams of weed. So, that's
A few buds.
yeah. So you're good. You're not going to get in any trouble. In Oregon, travelers are allowed to carry cannabis on flights within the state. Other cannabis-friendly airports are the Ted Stevenson's Anchorage International Airport and the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. In Canada, adults may fly up to with 30 grams of weed, and they carry on or check in luggage. Travelers should note that the legal age of possession varies by province.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also those amnesty boxes now that they're leaving.
Yeah, and you can drop
Yeah,
everything.
I know what I'd be doing.
Putting your hand in there and trying to steal it. One guy drops it off, and you're the last passenger on the plane.
yeah. I
You're
mean,
like, oh,
It'd be great.
I'm just going to go last. And your
Let's
hand's
see.
stuck in the box.
How risky is it flying with cannabis? At Denver International Airport, the number of marijuana items seized has gone from 115 to 217 to 635 in 2018 and keeps growing. As discarded, many cannabis products found domestically, getting caught with small amounts of cannabis will not lead to arrest, but will lead to loss of precious cannabis. While some airports may be lenient towards cannabis possession, federal airspace is under federal law. So it's still federally illegal. So
Well, that's what I was thinking, because once you're off of the ground, you're in air. So do borders, do state laws apply to you when you're in the air?
No, 'cause it's
Federal laws apply to you.
Yeah. Weed in Texas can get you arrested and fined. For those wondering, can you fly with weed internationally? The answer is not likely. Now, we flew into Spain, which is legal. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we would have gotten any trouble.
That's my go-to philosophy. If I'm leaving a state that's legal or medical, and I have my medical card, and I'm flying to a state that's recreational or medical, and I carry weed on a plane, I'm not traveling through any states that are illegal. I'm up in the air.
But you're still federally.
I know,
right.
federally, but they're not going to pull you over in the air. Excuse me, knocking on the window,
Yeah, right.
right? No, so I think that's just how I That's my like go-to response if I got caught with it going from one state to another. I'd be like, here's my card. I don't know. It's legal where I'm coming from. It's legal where I'm going. I didn't know the technical laws on it. Just made an assumption. Thank you, officer.
Most burners, stoners, and potheads, I don't really think they care. They do it regardless. But
Right.
if you are just starting out, or even if you're one of a stoner, burner, or pothead that still doesn't like flying with cannabis on the plane, just look at the policies. Look at if the state's going to arrest you or anything like that, you know. So as it becomes more and more of the norm, and as we try to break the stigma, and as we've been saying, legalize cannabis, but trying to now just call it free the plant, you know, just protect yourselves. You know, if you don't feel comfortable doing it, you're going to be nervous. And if you're going to a state that sells, then don't worry about it. If it sells recreationally, you can get it. Yeah, you're going to pay a little bit more money, but don't. If you're nervous, don't take the chance. Pop an edible in before you get on the plane, relax, and then have a couple cocktails, and you're good to go. Some international news. In France, some thieves mistakenly steal hundreds of hemp plants. Probably thought it was cannabis. Meh. So, France just needs to like legalize it totally. I don't understand why they haven't done it yet. It's all about peace, love, and happiness in France. You need to smoke more cannabis. Here's a crazy story. In Delhi, the police seized 160 kilograms of ganja. They reported 1 kilogram of that that they basically stole the other 159 kilograms, and they sold the remaining. But then they also let the peddler who had it go, so he wouldn't rat them out. And then you have to see a picture of this weed that they like took from this guy. It doesn't even look like cannabis. I mean, I'm looking at it, and it is just god awful. Brickweed that we used to get in like, you know, the late 80s, early 90s look better than this. This is just awful. Crappy. Oh my God. So 4 cops took the cannabis off the guy, let him go. They went to sell it, and they sold it to an undercover person. And then
the cops did?
Yes. And then they all got busted.
Oh, jeez. And then they got busted.
And the thing is, now...
And it was shitty weed?
Oh, my God. Who knows? But, it's, I guess, in Delhi right now, there's this big drug bust going all over the place right now. So they probably thought who was going to know this was going to be missing. Because they're busting even bigger amounts right now, like 500, what a pound, just huge numbers. So hey, but that weed is freaking disgusting. Oh my God, it's like I don't even know what it was. Didn't even look like cannabis.
Trying to hustle a buck on the side.
Yeah,
got caught.
So, oops. Here's something cool, and I've been following this Mexico's legalization for a while now, and I've been talking about it. But in Mexico City, back in February, they grew a garden outside the Senate. Out there where they're going to be voting on cannabis laws, and a bunch of stoners built like this beautiful, I was looking at some pictures of it, this beautiful cannabis garden where now they're letting people go in there for 30 minutes and just basically like sit and smoke and go enjoy. I don't know how big it is. It doesn't really say how like big it is, but they just threw a bunch of seeds and built this garden, and it's just pretty awesome. People can go and visit and walk around. There's like, I don't know, there's people sitting in there like guiding people and letting people smoke. So the garden is run by a pro-cannabis activist. People are allowed in for 30 minutes at a time and can light up in peace. So far, police appear to be turning a blind eye. Thank you, police. It's great that they have opened the space for people who are open to new experiences or want to find out a little bit about the subject, says Carlos Diaz, another smoker. They can come and check it out. For Jose Rivera, cannabis activist, the garden is a cool tool to educate and offer human rights. We want Mexican lawmakers to understand that we are smoking quietly and we are not risk to anyone. He said, enough of the mistreatment. So that is pretty cool. And you know what I like about that is they're not protesting. They are in a way, but they're showing what cannabis community could be all about. And I've said this: cannabis brings people together, and to see that in Mexico is pretty awesome. And I think that you should be able to smoke freely and have it like they said in this article, people can go there and smoke in peace for 30 minutes, and maybe you're coming home from work and you had a stressful day, and you don't like alcohol, or you don't want to drink alcohol because it might put you in a better mood, but you can go there and in a zen moment and probably put on some headphones and smoke, and just before you go home and be in a better mood. I think there should be smoking gardens across the country.
Would be neat.
New Zealand, what the heck are you doing? You're saying nope to dope. And I don't understand what your problem is. Been talking about you guys for a while. We have a bunch of listeners in New Zealand, and man, New Zealanders are due to vote in a cannabis referendum on October 17th. If the referendum returns a yes majority, the incoming government may introduce the Cannabis Legalization and Control Bill for parliaments to vote on, which legalizes the use of recreational cannabis by adults. And it's showing here the poll showing that 53% of the country does not support legalization. That's brutal. Ironside, a gentleman who they were interviewing, and claimed that the New Zealand's legislation bill will make an industry out of cannabis by expanding the legal and the black market. While the black market for cannabis has persisted since the legalization of recreational cannabis in Canada, the Canadian government recorded that the black market has shrunk by 21%. It's likely too late for New Zealand as well, as the country's cannabis industry is already worth $1.5 billion annually, and that's a small country. $1.5 billion, and he forgot not to mention recreational could generate $1.1 billion in taxes every year and employ 5,000 people and boost the GDP by $440 million. So, New Zealand, you need to get your shit together. I've been talking about you guys for a while. Vote yes, vote yes, vote yes. Here's something crazy, and we know a lot of computer programmers out there in our life, and I know a lot of people that do tech and stuff like that, and they're saying the weed industry workers are estimated to outnumber computer programmers by the end of 2020.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. There's something like 265,000 people in the cannabis industry right now, and it's going to grow to like 550,000 in the next 5 years.
Wow. Well, I mean, look, now you're taking a college course.
Yeah.
So I think more of your agricultural heavy colleges will probably have courses in growing marijuana and growing hemp.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's going to be botanists, bioengineers, agriculture,
business management courses. I mean, in the courses that I'm taking, one is introduction to cannabis.
Did I say that?
One is pharmacology, and the second one's going to be law.
Oh yeah.
So, it's three courses, about cannabis. I wish there's more. I wish I could take growing. I wish I could do basics of growing. I mean, it's just
there's going to be a degree. a sub-degree.
Yeah,
probably.
But eventually, I mean, they'll probably add more stuff to this course that at the college I'm taking it at. It's just three, but there's also like business management and stuff like that. But I would love to take like a 20 course thing on introduction to cannabis, pharmacology, botany, all of it, and take a class on each, and down the road, and then you get a nice AA degree,
like a broad perspective.
I would love to get a 2-year degree on cannabis. I don't know if I could do 4, but 2-year degree on cannabis, and then you learn all the aspects of it. I'd be freaking awesome. So hopefully Moraine gets that far. I think this is their first year doing it, and but I'm enjoying it. How excited was I to write a paper? What was I saying? I haven't wrote a paper in years, like an essay in years. Now I've written a lot of stuff, but not a full blown. I went over
formal
on my
essay.
Yes, it's been a while, a long while since the last time I was back at school, like 12 years ago. So, yeah, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing my PowerPoint. So I mean, hopefully there's more and more workers in this industry. It's like I said, it's growing. So this is just the young stages of it too. So as we grow more, hopefully more, they offer some legit courses. So, and as we are always talking about, legalization, now freeing the plant, it's time for us to kind of, band together and fight more and more every day for cannabis legalization. And Mrs. Weedman's going to take you to how do we get this shit done?
Yeah. So there's some news on the fight for cannabis legalization. A nearly 3-year-old case named Washington versus Barr, which pits former NFL star Marvin Washington and plaintiffs against Attorney General William Barr, and it received a boost this week. A slew of organizations, including the Normal, an acronym that stands for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, the Americans for Safe Access, and U.S. law firm Ansel, Grimm, and Aaron have joined the fight, filing amicus briefs in the case, which challenged the constitutionality of weed's Schedule 1 status. I'm sorry, I'm really high. I'm really struggling. Like, it's not my glasses. Okay.
Nice
Then I
job,
can't
Effort
remember all
Grow.
this. Yeah.
Double rainbow.
So they're fighting. They're challenging the constitutionality of weed's Schedule 1 status. If the Supreme Court of the United States chooses to hear the case, it could change U.S. drug policy. In its brief, Normal's representative, Attorney David Holland, argued that the federal scheduling of cannabis is unconstitutional due to all 3 levels of government engaging in activity that is in direct conflict with the plant's Schedule 1 status. Holland said, The brief exposes a fundamental paradox. If cannabis is federally illegal for all purposes, and the 3 coordinated branches of the federal government have acted to allow for cannabis businesses, then the federal government is nullifying its own law. Simply put, under the Constitution, something cannot be illegal and legal at the same time, especially when it comes to state laws that conflict with federal laws. The Schedule 1 classification means cannabis is listed alongside heroin, and the plant is deemed to have no accepted medical use, despite the plethora of research that indicates the opposite, and the more than 3 million Americans who depend on medical cannabis, as Ansel, Grimm, and Aaron note in the statement. Anthony Malachi, a retired Superior Court judge, stated, the decision to use cannabis for medical reasons is no less important than the decision to use common prescriptive drugs. My own son Daniel, age 30, suffers from ALS, a required medical cannabis, and he requires medical cannabis to have a quality of life, any quality of life. And the federal government's placement of cannabis in Schedule 1 would relegate him and other patients to a lifetime of suffering. It's time that this suffering ends. So we've got some pretty big heavy hitters out there trying to push for this to become federally legal. So I want to learn more about Normal. So again,
their website's awesome. They've been around since 1974.
Again, that's the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws.
Yeah, I learned that in school too, but I've talked about them for a while now on this podcast. Their website is awesome, and you can go on there and learn. They have every state laws to the T.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
That's neat.
It's pretty good. They've been around a long time. Recreational sales in Illinois, record high, nearly $64 million worth of cannabis was sold last month in August. $64 million. Woo. Woo.
Jeez.
That's a lot of smoking going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I today decided to take some of my flour and some of my trim, and I made infused coconut oil. And I love doing that in the machine.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was very pretty. And I put a picture on it on our Instagram and at Weedman420 Chronicles. But I didn't take you through the process. I just showed you the end product. The one thing I get asked all the time is how do you make your butters, how do you make your tinctures and all that stuff. But the first thing you have to learn before you do all of that is you have to understand you have to decarb your cannabis. Decarboxylation. How do you pronounce it?
Decarboxylation.
Thank you. There's no Z in it, but
no. Decarboxylation.
Yes. There you go. Thank you. So
sure.
I just call it decarbing.
It's like a spelling bee.
I know. So what does decarbing mean? It's the key reaction in the process of creating the cannabinoids that produce some of the cannabis' most medicinal effects. By understanding how this process works, you can better understand how to predict the effects of different cannabis options and thus use cannabis more effectively. Curious to learn more, this key chemical reaction. Just put it this way: when you smoke flower, you're decarbing your flower. You're lighting it up. You're putting it on fire, and that's how you can only activate cannabis by burning it.
There's an X.
Yeah, I know, but you said Z.
Oh, decarboxylation.
She actually went on her computer to think, because I can't spell word damn, but I corrected it.
Decarboxylation.
There you go.
Decarboxylation.
But you did say it with a Z.
Oh, I said lysation. Decarboxylation. All right, decarboxylation.
So-
no, decarboxylation.
Yep.
Oh, now I've said it too many times. You
You're
know when
screwed.
that happens? When you say just a word more than like 3 or 4 times, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, is that even a word?
It's just like you tell me
That's not
when you
Decarboxylation.
when you shuffle cards after the third time.
They're
you
just back in the same order.
I don't believe that, but
3.
three.
You gotta, yeah.
I know. I don't believe it though, but I get it.
Sorry, go back.
It's fine. How to decarb cannabis for edibles. Before decarbing, raw cannabis isn't really intoxicating. You can't just eat raw cannabis. You'll get something from it, but you're not going to get the psychoactive high from it. So let's just say to decarb it in the oven, you don't have to break the cannabis up if you don't want to. I don't. When I put it in my machine, it does it for me. But if you have to, yes, you have to break it up a little bit. Put on a baking sheet. I bake mine at 250. It says on here bake between 245 and 255. I do 250 for 30 to 40 minutes. I actually started doing it a little bit longer. I started doing it between 45 and 50 minutes, and I feel it got a lot stronger. And then after decarbing it, so let's just put it this way. Say you had...
But couldn't you overcook it?
No. Well, you can, but I wouldn't go longer than an hour. I know some people that do it for an hour.
Oh.
I just moved it up to like 50 minutes. So for an hour. So, and we did it on the last batch too, and it was pretty strong. So raw cannabis isn't intoxicating. Let's just put it this way. Say you have THC at being 1% and you have THCA as 16%. And we've talked about this on prior episodes between the cannabinoids and stuff like that. So after you decarb it, in the directions I just shared with you, your THC goes all the way up to 15% and your THCA is 0. And that's the same thing with CBD. There's also some cannabis has CBD in it. You know, there's a blend between THC and CBD where it might have like 5-6%. By decarbing it too, you kind of take out all the CBD also, and you're raising that THC level. That's why edibles can be really, really strong.
But don't you want some of the CBD
That's up to you. Then I wouldn't decarb it at all.
at all?
No, you don't. I mean,
Then you're going to have a CBD heavy.
Yes, I've cooked non-decarbed flour before I learned how to do that. Remember, we used to put the butter. We used to put the butter and we do the water separation method and all that stuff. So just if I'm going above your head, sorry. But we used to do it with the old-fashioned way with the cheesecloth and
Straining it.
yeah. But I didn't decarb it back then. So and it wasn't very strong. We had a more balanced body high than a head high, and that was because it probably had some CBD still in it. So to understand how decarbing, you first need to understand the cannabis is full of active chemicals which cause in many medicinal effects. In fact, there are over 500 different chemicals identified in the plant, and more than 144 of these chemicals are cannabinoids, the compounds that are mostly unique to cannabis. Understanding the process of decarbing requires understanding how cannabinoids form in the cannabis plant in the first place. You're probably familiar with some of the cannabinoids I've talked about before, THC, CBD, CBG, but do you know that all these cannabinoids start off life in another form? THC, CBD, and CBG referred to as called the neutral forms of these cannabinoids. These powerfully medicinal cannabinoids are usually consumed in the neutral form, but they are actually start off in an acidic form and had to transform along the way. Getting real deep with you on the cannabinoids, everybody.
Yeah.
This is generally how things work in botany and biology when it comes to chemical transformations. Molecules form as the plant grows, and under certain conditions like heat, light, or oxidation, these molecules morph. One chemical transforms into another, and then that new chemical transforms into the next, and then it goes to the cycle. It can go on for many irritations depending on the chemicals and conditions. With cannabinoids, this cycle of transformation begins with the acidic precursor. The acidic precursors are similar but slightly different versions. They're better known neutral forms and are usually indicated by adding an A at the end of the name, THCA, CBDA, and so on and so on and so on.
Wow.
The neutral forms are often considered more potent or medicinally active. Although depending on the patient's needs, they may find some acidic precursors more medicinally helpful. Both acid and neutral forms of cannabinoids can have powerful medicinal uses, but as cannabinoids shift from acidic to neutral form, they often take on new medicinal effects and benefits.
Jeez.
Yeah. It's a really deep article. I can go more and more, but they're talking about
I think you got to stop there.
I'm going to stop there.
That's
but
pretty,
also don't forget you're transforming THCA to THC when you're burning out those chemicals, and you're transferring the molecules of that plant. But you're doing it naturally with heat. You're not using a bunch of chemicals. Right. You're just doing it by putting some heat to it.
Stripping it
right.
out of there.
So make sure if you're making edibles, just however you make your edibles, just decarb your cannabis, and you change that molecule so you get the high THC.
And all you need to do
THCA.
to learn how to do these things, there's
YouTube.
many videos. YouTube, Google search, and you'll see.
Maybe Mrs. Weeman one day will come out in a nice outfit and make edibles for everybody.
Nice outfit.
Yeah, like a nice, what do you wear? What do you wear all the time when you cook?
Apron.
An apron, thank you. It's a nice outfit.
A nice outfit.
You do have different colored aprons
I'll get
you
a
wear all
nice
the time.
outfit.
Yeah.
I'll come out and I'll make a YouTube.
Yeah, if Martha Stewart always dresses professionally, right?
I can't dress like that.
I didn't say dress like Martha Stewart.
Okay.
But wear a nice outfit.
You won't be seeing any pearls around my neck.
No. So,
Sorry.
if you have any questions, though, about decarbing and stuff like that, it's online. Or if you have any questions about edibles, just reach out to me, Mrs. Weeman, and we'll tell you about it.
I like diamonds, though. Diamonds are good.
Are forever.
But pearls and round collars and plaid.
What's that song? She wears a pearl necklace.
Yeah, and penny loafers, or like with a little bow, patiny leather.
No one said you were going to wear that.
Shit's not going to happen. Pastel yellow kitchen walls and white cabinets and a pasture of pretty wildflowers out my back window. All of that's not going to be part of my cooking show.
Of native Illinois flowers in your backyard.
A nice Frank Lloyd Wright backyard with a nice ocean view. You might see something like that, maybe in my dreams. I'll cook on a ledge, and that scene will be behind me.
There you go. That's dope.
Birds.
Mrs. Weedman's dream.
Oh, that'd be great.
So a popular California cannabis company.
Kitchen. Salt air, like pushing my hair in my face all the time while I'm trying to cook. Okay, go ahead. Go on.
That's okay. Popular cannabis company in California called Cookies got a Florida license. Good for them. But what I'm more excited about the company Cookies is one of my favorite hip hop artists, groups, whatever you want to call them. RTJ Run the Jewels, baby.
Whoop.
Ooh la la. So that was
a fun show.
Oh God. So actually, they partnered up with Cookies. And they have a mutual friend who owns it, who's another fellow hip-hop artist, rapper. You know what I'm bummed about, though, before I go any further, is that RTJ was going to tour with Rage Against the Machine this year. We were going to go see him, and because of COVID, it got canceled.
I know.
So bummed. Oh, that whole tour. And it was their reunion tour, and I would have loved to have seen Run the Jewels.
We got to see them at Riot Fest.
We did. It was pretty awesome.
2 years ago.
I would like to see them again, especially their new album. But anyway, they teamed up with Cookies. Good for them. It's their first cannabis partnership. And I think a lot of people are going to like their stuff. They're doing a Run the Jewels strain called Ooh La La, which I actually saw a picture on Instagram. Someone posted. So go Run the Jewels, go Cookies. Sounds like it's going to be a great partnership. And
I bet their packaging is going to be really good.
Well, they did the album cover of
cool.
RTJ4, which was pretty cool. So. Ooh la la, I said wee wee. I love that song. So congratulations, you guys. Hopefully the partnership goes awesome, and I'd like to try some of your stuff one day. I don't have any grandparents anymore, and Mrs. Weeman doesn't have any grandparents anymore.
Oh, I didn't even think about that until you had to say that.
Right, our
Why'd
kids
you say
do.
That?
Well,
you
because
made me sad.
well, it's the truth. But you know, it'd be really cool.
That's a sad thing to say.
I know. I'm sorry, but I love we love our grandparents. You had your grandparents.
That's why it's such a sad thing to say.
I know, but we don't anymore.
Okay, I'm over it. Go on.
Good. What if Mimi, Grandma Weed Mimi, and
she did not smoke weed ever.
But what if she gave you weed for Christmas?
That'd be insane. Could you imagine that? I could picture my other grandma maybe doing that.
Nana?
And yeah, in the fruitcake. She doesn't know what the special ingredient is.
What if
All right.
What if they did?
That'd be insane.
Wouldn't it?
So here is a story about this couple who
Here's a
did just that.
story.
Yeah. This elderly couple, Patrick and his wife Barbara. Patrick was all ripe years of 80 ripe years, that is, and his wife 83. Ooh, look at that. He's catching the older gals. They were carrying a massive stash of marijuana in their truck, and when cops pulled them over, they insisted it was Christmas presents. It all started when police noticed the couple's car crossing the center lane without the driver using indicators. The couple was driving from California to Nebraska. Deputies pulled them over, and as soon as the officers approached the truck, a strong smell of weed. Could you imagine 60 pounds? Oh, that would smell. Anyway, a strong smell of weed coming from the couple's Toyota Tacoma. It struck the cops right in the face. And when they asked about the smell, Patrick admitted, I have contraband. So the officers conducted a search, and inside the topper of the truck, they found more than 60 pounds of weed. Yeah. So that's worth more than $300,000. So then it gets even crazier. The deputies asked them where they're taking the cannabis, and the couple claimed the cannabis was for Christmas presents. How about them lucky ducks, right?
Man.
I mean, like, what, everybody in the family gets like a pound of weed for Christmas?
60 pounds?
Yeah, like
60
everybody.
family members were coming
That's a
over.
big family, right?
That's a big family.
Everybody gets, all right, maybe everybody gets 2 pounds. So anyway, the couple also said they didn't know it was illegal to transport marijuana. The officers arrested the couple and charged Patrick with cannabis possession with the intent of delivering it without a drug stamp. In addition to the plant, the officers also confiscated processed products, including concentrated THC. So marijuana isn't illegal in Nebraska. However,
Why? Why do people get busted all the time running
because
through
the
Nebraska?
state requires a dealer to get a tax stamp. So you have to pay major taxes. So the problem here was not that they had it or that they were going to give it away. It's that they didn't have any paperwork on it. So under the law, the couple would have been responsible for about $96,000 in Nebraskan tax, which equates to about $100 per ounce of cannabis. So don't forget to pay the tax man. So hopefully
they still follow that bill that was, from the 1930s when they made that tag. Oh wow!
Yeah, so it's not illegal. It's just how you carry it and how you distribute it.
That's why everyone gets
That's the
busted because they don't
problem.
have the tax stamp.
Yeah.
They didn't pay the tax man.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's nuts. Hey everybody, I want to say thanks for listening. Calvin, rest in peace, our friend. This show is dedicated to you. Mrs. Weeman, got anything else to say?
That is it. We're good for here.
Yeah. Well, everyone be kind. Be safe out there.
Stay
be loving.
well.
Yeah.
Even the president got COVID. It's real.
Yeah, be safe out there.
Stay safe,
Wash
everybody.
your hands. Use sanitizer. But still be kind and helpful to everybody, too, while you can. Because everyone's got to take care of each other out there. Hey, make sure you check us out on Weedman420 Chronicles on Instagram. Weedman420 Chronicles Pod on, what is that, Twitter. I don't even know. But we're on all the platforms. No. We're on all the platforms. We just launched on Amazon, so we're pretty cool on there now. You can listen to our podcast on Amazon. You can listen to our podcast on Stitcher now. So check us out on all the platforms. We're super stoked that we keep on doing this for you every week. And as Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.